Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a lake so vast, so alive that it doesn't just hold water, it carries entire floating villages upon its back. This is Loktak Lake, the beating heart of Manipur in northeast India, a place where land and water blur into one, where human life has found a way to dance in harmony with nature in ways few of us could ever imagine. Loktak Lake, often called the lifeline of Manipur, is the largest freshwater lake in northeast India, stretching across more than 300 square kilometers. But its true magic lies in its unique ecosystem. Picture vast circles of vegetation, soil, and organic matter floating gently across the surface, forming what the locals call phumdis. These floating masses are the foundation of life itself here. Entire houses are built upon them, fishing nets are strung between them, and even fields of crops rise and fall with the movement of the water. Ask yourself this: how often do we take for granted the ground beneath our feet? Now, imagine a life where that certainty doesn't exist. Imagine growing up knowing that your house, your garden, even the path to your neighbor's door could literally drift across the lake. This is the paradox of Loktak. Life here is fragile, yet unshakably strong. The people of Loktak Lake have lived on these phumdis for generations. Fishermen rise before dawn, their small wooden boats gliding silently across the misty lake, nets dipping into the glassy surface. Women tend to floating gardens, cultivating vegetables on rafts of soil that drift with the currents. Children grow up learning to balance not only on narrow boats, but also on a world that is itself in motion. Loktak Lake is more than just a home for people. It is a sanctuary for life itself. The phumdis provide habitat for the rare and endangered Sangai deer, known as the dancing deer of Manipur. Imagine this delicate creature, light-footed and graceful, stepping across the floating grasslands that sway beneath its weight. Without the phumdis, the Sangai would have no home. What makes life on Loktak truly extraordinary is the resilience of its people. They live without the conveniences we take for granted. Electricity is scarce, modern infrastructure limited, and yet their sense of community is as strong as the roots of the plants binding the phumdis together. Here, survival depends on cooperation, on sharing, on understanding that the lake provides everything, from food to shelter to belonging. In return, the people treat the lake with reverence, respecting its cycles, its moods, its fragile balance. Life on the water. As the mist lifts from Loktak Lake, a deeper rhythm of life reveals itself. Stepping into a home that drifts upon the water, built on layers of vegetation and soil that rise and fall with the lake's pulse, you feel the gentle sway, the reminder that your world is never truly still. Yet for those who have lived here all their lives, that movement is as natural as a heartbeat. Life centers around one essential truth: the lake provides. Fish are the lifeblood of this community. Every morning, fishermen slip quietly into the waters, their boats gliding like shadows across the glassy surface. Nets are cast with precision, handed down through generations, a skill learned not in classrooms, but in the very rhythms of the lake itself. Children here grow up with extraordinary freedom. Their playgrounds are the waters themselves, their games played out on narrow wooden boats where balance is everything. They learn to row before they can read, to navigate the maze of floating vegetation before they've walked on a paved road. To them, the lake is not strange or precarious. It is home, safe and familiar, even when shifting beneath their feet. But Loktak Lake is not only about daily survival. It's about identity, about culture rooted in the water. The people carry traditions passed down for generations. Festivals are celebrated on the phumdis, songs echo across the waters, and rituals honor the spirits of the lake. To them, Loktak is more than a resource. It is sacred, a guardian of their way of life. Still, life here is not without hardship. Imagine enduring monsoon rains in a house that floats. The waters rise, winds whip across the surface, and the ground beneath shifts. Families tie their homes together to keep them from drifting apart. When storms end, When the sun returns, the people rebuild, repair, and continue. Because resilience is not an option, it is necessity. The dancing deer and sacred waters. Within Loktak lies Kabul Lamjao, the only floating national park in the world resting upon the phumdis. Here lives the endangered Sangai deer, a creature so graceful it's called the dancing deer. To watch it move across the floating meadows is to witness something otherworldly, a dance between fragility and strength. This deer exists nowhere else on Earth, its survival depending entirely on the lake, just as the floating village depends on the health of the waters. The people of Manipur's floating village carry stories that reach far beyond the lake's shimmering waters. Elders tell legends that Loktak was once the cradle of gods and heroes, a sacred place where boundaries between human and divine dissolved. These stories told by flickering lanterns are not just tales, they are lessons, roots binding children to a way of life that outsiders might never fully comprehend. Facing an uncertain future. But modern pressures are closing in on Loktak Lake. Hydroelectric dams, pollution, growing populations, all threaten the delicate balance of life here. Climate change threatens the phumdis themselves, shrinking the very ground upon which people live. Families worry. Will their children still be able to live on Loktak as they did? Or will the floating village become a memory? Yet resilience flows through these waters. Time and again, the people of Loktak have faced challenges and endured. They innovate in quiet, ingenious ways. Gardens are reinforced, fishing practices adapted, new techniques discovered to preserve the phumdis. It is a dance of survival, creativity, and respect. Tourism brings both opportunities and risks. Visitors arrive, drawn by stories of India's floating village, photographing fishermen casting nets at dawn, marveling at homes that float. Tourism brings money and recognition, but also threatens the fragile balance if outsiders don't understand what makes this place possible. A living poem. When you think of Northeast India, of Manipur, what comes to mind? For most, it's a place unknown, hidden in map folds and story margins. Yet here in Loktak Lake lies a world that can teach us more about life than any bustling city. To witness life on India's floating village is to be reminded that progress isn't only measured in skyscrapers, but in the ability to sustain traditions that honor nature, in the courage to live where life is fragile, and in the wisdom to see beauty in uncertainty. As twilight settles over Loktak Lake, the waters transform into a mirror of the heavens. The floating homes, silhouetted against the fiery sky, seem to hover between two worlds. It's in these moments that the true soul of India's floating village reveals itself. Life here is measured not by clock ticks, but by sun movement, water rise and fall, and the timeless rhythm of survival. Imagine standing at a phumdi's edge as dawn breaks. The air is crisp, mist clings to the surface, and in the distance, a fisherman casts his net in motion so fluid it looks like part of the lake itself. In that single moment, you understand that Loktak is not just a place. It is a living poem written in water and sunlight, in struggle and resilience, in the footsteps of the Sangai and the songs of its people. What does it mean to live in harmony with nature? To not dominate it, not reshape it to fit our needs, but to adapt ourselves to its rhythms, its unpredictability, its quiet demands. The floating village on Loktak Lake is one of the rare places on Earth where this balance still exists, where life is lived on nature's terms. If this journey into Loktak Lake has stirred something within you, let it not end here. Support the voices of those who live in harmony with nature by helping stories like this reach more hearts. If you found beauty in the resilience of India's floating village, if you felt the awe of Manipur's hidden world, then take a moment to like this video. It truly helps the channel grow and allows us to bring more untold stories to you. Subscribe so you don't miss the next journey into the extraordinary corners of our planet. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear how Loktak touched your imagination. Share this story with someone who needs to be reminded of the beauty and fragility of our world. And if you haven't already, I invite you to watch the previous video we created. It's another journey filled with wonder, and I promise it will open your eyes just as much as this one. Because in the end, life is not about the places we pass through. It's about the stories that stay with us. And the story of Loktak Lake, India's floating village in the heart of northeast India, is one that deserves to be remembered